Alrighty, welcome back, everybody, to another week of the Wide Eye Sports Podcast. We are here with the full crew finally after I don't even know how many weeks it's been. We've had just so many people miss, but we got your boy Brenner on the mic, obviously. We got Riley joining us. We got Dalton joining us, and we got Spoon joining us. The crew is back together again and just in time for Dak Prescott to make an MVP run.
Dalton's not looking so crazy now, is he? All you fuckers that said I was crazy when I picked Dak Prescott.
Whoa.
I mean,
Whoa.
I'm still going to say at the time, it was a crazy pick.
And what is
I
it
mean,
now,
I'm just going to say that.
At the time, it was crazy. What is it now, Brenner?
Now it's looking slightly more reasonable.
Slightly
more reasonable. We'll get into that later. We got a full jam-packed show for you. We're going to go MVP race again, playoffs again, but we're going to get underway with the weeklies. Every week we jump in, we look at our biggest winners of the week, our biggest losers of the week, our game of the week in the upcoming week, and then we have a pick 'em where every week we each pick a team that we think is going to win, and we keep score on who's right and who's wrong. So with that being said, I'm going to get underway with my MVP and biggest loser. And number one overall, I have the Miami Dolphins as my biggest winner this week. They just kind of dominated in every facet of the game while they were out there. They ended up with the number one seed after everything was said and done this week. Of course, Baltimore didn't play, but with Jacksonville losing, Kansas City losing, Miami jumps into the one seed and now control their own destiny as the one seed. That's huge. And I've kind of thought of them as a team similar to how I thought of Dallas all season of like, yeah, they're great, but they haven't beat anybody real, but like they're the one seed right now. And if they keep the one seed, 2 is winning MVP. Like that's just how that's going to go. My biggest loser of the week, I mean, it's going to be the Patriots. I mean, they are just in an all-timer of a slump.
Listen,
I mean,
man, it's kind of cool. They've held teams for the last 3 weeks to less than 10
yeah,
points. And
they have the number one defense in the past 4 weeks, and they're 0-4.
Yep, that was
I
a
did not
crazy.
know
That
they
hasn't
let
happened
Bill
since like the
Berry.
1930s,
Yeah,
where a
they
team
are-
has held their opponents to less than 10, and they still lose the game.
Yeah,
10 or
it's
less.
crazy. Bill's never had to figure out this offense before, and now he's being asked to figure out the offense, and he's kind of at a loss because he's had Tom there forever, and you never had to figure out Tom. You just gave Tom what he was supposed to do, and he did it to perfection every time.
Yep.
So, but that would be my biggest loser, biggest MVPs of the week. Riley, you got some MVPs and losers?
Yeah, so my MVP for the week was Matthew Stafford.
Okay.
He had a great game Sunday, and now the Rams are second in their division, now holding the 8th seed in the NFC. There's a big tie at 6-6 between the 6 and 9 seeds, and really he's keeping the Rams' playoff hopes alive. And then my biggest loser for the week is the Philadelphia Eagles. And I say the Eagles because the Eagles they're not playing for a playoff spot at this point. They're playing for the 1 seed. And now, we were talking about this before the podcast, if they lose this Sunday at Dallas, there is now a tie between the Cowboys and Dallas. And the Niners are 9-3 and have not lost since week 8. So the NFC is coming down to the wire, but with the Eagles, they now only have a game lead that they could blow Sunday. And for that, they are my biggest losers. They had a 2-game hold on the NFC, and that might slip now.
All right, we got Dalton up next. Dalton?
My MVP. I'm gonna do my biggest loser. My biggest loser. I wanted to pick the Eagles, but I'm glad Riley got to it. So yeah, anytime anybody can hate on the Eagles is a good day for me. Biggest loser, Kansas City Chiefs, man. I did not have the Packers winning that game.
Nobody did.
Yeah, no.
And just another game. It seems like everyone's got the Chiefs figured out now. Triple team Travis Kelce, literally put no defenders on anybody else, and it's fine because they won't catch the ball.
Yeah.
So
Who's gonna hurt you? Rashid Rice.
Chiefs have a lot. Yeah, Rashid Rice is playing very, very well, and I feel like that is also going under the radar. I was talking with our outside correspondent, our Chiefs affiliate and #1 fan, Stephen Cronin, who's yet to make an appearance on the pod, even though I plead with him every time.
I've given up hope
with the Chiefs right now. Saying they really got to figure out their wide receiver core. In the last 10 years, during the Andy Reid era, they have drafted. They got Tyreek Hill, luckily, but other than that, they've had 0 #1 wide receivers, and that is just something that they are going to have to figure out this next offseason and really draft heavy into some wide receivers, I feel like. And then my MVP, Jordan Love, baby. What a season this guy is having right now, dude. Like,
what a season! He got smoked by the Vikings at home. Suck it, Jordan Love.
Okay, well, he's still. I mean, they're still 6 and sticks. He's still keeping the Packers alive. And everybody is really just kind of comparing him with Aaron Rodgers right now. I know it's a little bit crazy, but the stats don't lie. The yards are there, the touchdown passes are there, and the low interceptions are there as well. Jordan Love is doing really, really good. The Packers were my dark horse sneak pick for a run at the Super Bowl, so we'll see how they go these next couple of weeks. Spoon?
All right. So my biggest winners of the week, it's a team that we haven't really touched on, like hardly at all. They've kind of just been under the radar. We haven't really talked about them much, but it's Gardner Minshew and the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah.
So the reason why I'm bringing them up right now is because they started out the season 3-5. They are now sitting at 7-5 after winning their last 4 games. And I know that it was a close game. It was an overtime game against a weak Tennessee Titans team, but still, it's a huge win. You are now sitting in the playoffs right now as the 6th seed.
Yeah.
And I mean, they have a kind of like a mid schedule coming up, so they could definitely fall out of the playoffs. But I would definitely keep an eye on this team. Like, great job. I love the turnaround that they're doing right now down in Indianapolis. My biggest loser of the week is probably, it's going to coincide with what Dalton kind of said, but his MVP was the Rams and Matthew Stafford. My loser was the Cleveland Browns. So with the playoff race coming, it's coming to an end, you only have a few more weeks left. The Browns cannot afford to lose that many more games, especially with their 4th string quarterback right now. And whenever you have to rely on your defense and they give up 36 points, that's not what you're looking for in a playoff team.
No. I will say that game was close until the end. It got really out of hand in the 4th quarter, but that defense kept it close. But they were on the field all game again, and you're just gonna break eventually when it's a game like that.
Right. It's just, I mean, but if teams are figuring that out, how to beat the Browns, and that's the way, is just you gotta play super slow, time of possession, keep the defense out there. Then I mean, it's kind of easy to beat them in that scenario.
Yeah.
I also want to take a shout out. Another big winner of the week is the Alabama Crimson Tide. Good job knocking off Georgia, sneaking into the playoffs, knocking out Florida State, helping the Longhorns make it into the playoffs too. I love that for me. Fuck Florida State. I'm sorry, fans. Like, it sucks, but y'all would have gotten beat by 30 points by every team in the playoffs right now.
Washington would have snuck by them.
Snuck by Florida State? I'm telling you, Texas, Bama, and Michigan and Washington all demolished Florida State first round.
Washington's defense is garbage. Washington's defense is atrociously bad. I've watched a ton of their games. They give up. They can score with anybody. Like, don't get me wrong, but it would have been who had the ball last type of game. But that being said, let's move on to game of the week. My game of the week for this next week is I'm going to take the easy road here and leave you guys with the other highball pick, and I'm going to go Buffalo at Kansas City. I mean, I feel like Dalton and Kuhn have a very specific one they want to go with for this week, so I felt Riley would probably also go Buffalo, Kansas City. I don't know for sure, but that was my game. No, he's not. Okay,
he's
all
not.
right.
No.
Well, but that will be my game of the week. So, Riley, with that, I'll give the floor to you.
Yeah, so I'm kind of riding off Spoon's biggest loser, and I'm going Jags at Cleveland.
Okay.
And I wrote this before the game last night. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence is hurt, but he is coming back before the end of the season, right? He'll be back.
And they said likely, but it's a high ankle sprain. And usually with high ankle sprains, it's 4 to 6 weeks. So
But
they're
both
saying yes.
both of these teams cannot afford to lose if they're looking at making it into the playoffs, especially in the AFC.
I don't know, man. I see Cleveland winning that game now. Like before, I saw Jacksonville winning it, but like now, like how you have a bad offense and like that defense last night looked atrocious. So you have a really bad defense being led by a talented offense with no quarterback, and then you have a great defense with a bad offense. Like only one of those teams has anything going for them right now, and it's the Browns on defense. So, but Dalt Spoon, who wants to go first? You guys want to share it? You guys want to do like a little
I feel like-
shared?
I'm gonna let him have it first.
Okay, Dalt.
Yeah, I'm really looking here, man, and I cannot honestly find any other game.
There's two
That's-
other games besides the game that you're looking at. I think personally, I'll give a shout out to both of them if you want.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go Cowboys Eagles. This is a really big game, especially for both teams. Honestly, it's unclear who needs it more, because a win by both teams is spectacular. If the Eagles win, they're flying high. They kill us 2-0 for the season, and it's gonna make those haters, the Cowboys haters, very loud. Cowboys win.
You say Cowboys haters.
Cowboys win. Huge win for Dak Prescott. Would really cement him into that MVP conversation. I
It
wouldn't
would
say
make him the favorite.
MVP, but it would cement him in the top 2 or 3 for the MVP category. And we'll see how the rest of the season goes.
I say it would make him the favorite. If
I think
they win that game.
he's already in the top 3 right now. He's kind of
Yeah, he's
a lot of
he's
the
tied
stuff-
for 2 right now.
Well, a lot of the statistics that I'm seeing, like I see Brock Purdy just barely ahead, but there's also other ones where I see Purdy tied with Hurts and
Yeah.
Prescott. Like all 3 of them are just by far the favorite.
The average is Purdy at 250, and then Dak and Jalen both at plus 350 with Lamar behind them.
Okay.
That's
So
the
Can I throw a question out there?
Yeah.
So Eagles lose Sunday, Niners win. Do the Niners have the 1 seed? Since
They should, yeah.
yeah, they have a win over both the Eagles and the Cowboys.
And if the Niners win, they will take the lead.
So then the Eagles would fall,
To the 3
I guess,
seed. Or
third.
to the
Because
5
they'd be
seed.
playing in a wild card game, wouldn't they?
Well, I don't know. I don't know who has a tiebreaker between them because the Cowboys and Eagles would then be 1-1.
It would go to division record.
Yeah, and I
Which
don't think
that would
either-
mean
both
well
teams.
then
are
you
still
would
tied
both
again.
be the Cowboys or the Eagles lost to the Commanders. So they would
No,
have
they haven't
No,
lost.
they didn't.
They didn't? Who lost to the
Nope.
Commanders?
Eagles are top of the division right now. They haven't lost to anybody because they haven't played New York, and they've played us once and the Commanders twice.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
played
they're one of
New
them.
York twice in the last 3 games.
Yeah, I think that's
was
pretty.
looking at their schedule, and I thought that was odd.
Yeah, it's very odd.
Probably, it'd probably go to head to head, and I'm pretty sure didn't the Eagles already beat the Cardinals? Or
Yes.
no? Okay, then it would go to head matchups, and the Eagles would have the tiebreaker.
Oh, they lost to the Jets. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Which the Cowboys beat the Jets.
Then
Correct.
yeah, the Cowboys
So-
did beat the Jets, so
so
I don't
that-
know.
It would go to head, which therefore you have the head tiebreaker. So should be Niners, Cowboys, and then the 5 seed would be the Eagles. That could be a shakeup in a matter of 3 weeks.
Yeah.
From the 1 seed, 2 game lead, the 1 seed to the 5 seed. Playoffs are crazy, man.
I love it, and
Playoffs are
that's
crazy.
and that's why I'm taking the reins here. And obviously, Cowboys Eagles is my game of the week, but I have 2 other ones that Dalton kind of bypassed. I feel like you could throw in there. You could go Colts Bengals, huge playoff implications on
Yeah.
that game. You got a 6-6 Bengals and a 7-5 Colts team. They're on the road. The
I'm
Bengals.
taking Colts all day.
Well, Jake Browning did not have a bad game last week. And
No, he didn't. But now they've seen him play, and now they see what the game plan's going to be with Jake Browning on the field.
Throw to Chase.
I'm
Throw to
taking the
Chase.
Colts.
throw to Chase, throw to Chase, throw to Chase.
Yeah, exactly.
The other game is Broncos Chargers. It's kind of
Better.
under the radar a little bit. It's another playoff implication game. It also is a division rivalry game, and the Broncos are on the road, and the Broncos need to keep their playoff hopes alive with a win here. And I think it's going to be tough to do that against the Chargers. I mean, if the Chargers play like they did last week, it's not going to be tough at all.
Yeah,
But it's going to be a
Chargers
fun game to watch as well.
terrible. All right, with that, we're going to move on to our pick'em. So I have now moved to 3-0 after last week.
Who'd you pick
Riley,
last week?
I picked.
You picked the Steelers last week. You lost.
No, I didn't pick the Steelers last week. That was the week before last.
Okay.
Who did I pick last week? Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is who I picked last week.
Ooh.
Tampa Bay was who I picked last week.
You-
Riley, who did
Yeah,
you pick last week? I can't remember.
I sent it to you. I'd have to look.
You sent it
I
to
know
me?
I had to take the episode off to recover from that.
Oh,
Bills.
yeah, you did send it to me. I remember saying it.
I think I picked the Steelers, so I'm 0-1 right now.
Yep, you did pick this. No, you couldn't have picked the Steelers because that was on the list of teams we couldn't use. Oh no, did I? No, yeah, that was on the list of teams we couldn't use.
I can't remember who I picked, honestly.
Do I need to start writing this down for everybody?
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
mine. I know mine.
I'm
I
at
don't
least
Chargers.
1-1.
Riley took Chargers, so Riley moves to 2-1.
And I took the Chargers, so I'm now 1-2. I picked the Cardinals in the wrong week, so I fucked up there.
Yes, you did. Yes, you
Took them
did.
just a week early.
So we got 3-0, we got 2-1, and then we got 1-2, and then we got 0-1.
Yeah, I can't remember if I picked. I think I picked the Titans or the Steelers. Either way, I would have lost.
Okay. Well, we're gonna go ahead and move on to our picks this week. I'm gonna let Dalt lead it off this week,
Oof.
unless you need Spoon to lead it off.
Yeah,
I got mine. I'm taking the
Okay.
Texans.
Spoon's taking the Texans.
Yep, against the Jets team, absolutely. That should be an easy win for them.
All right, Riley, who you got?
Man, so when I wrote it down, I didn't realize I had taken the Chargers last week. So I'm gonna go Buccaneers over the Falcons.
All right. I am going to take the low ball pick here, and this pains me, but you got to use the teams. You got to use them when you got them, and you got to. It's going to pay me, but I'm going to take the Packers. I'm taking
That was,
Green Bay.
that was the other one I was looking at. I was either going to go Packers, Texans.
I'm going to take Green Bay over the
Okay,
Packers.
so what the rules are? We can't pick a team that was picked last week.
No, you can't pick a team that you've picked prior to this point. Any team. So any team in that list I gave you, you can't pick any of those, and you can't pick the team you picked last week.
So that's so crazy that really narrows it down. I
Yeah.
feel like we're gonna run out of room.
It does. The later you get in the season, the harder it gets to pick a game. That's the whole point of it.
I'm going to pick.
That's
Damn, man,
the
every time I think of a team, I'm gonna pick the Colts. Can I pick the Colts?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm picking the Colts. I'm taking the Colts over the Bengals.
All right. So we got Spoon taking Houston. We got Riley taking the Bucks. I'm taking Green Bay, and we got Dalt taking Indy. So at this point, Spoon is 1-2, 2-1, 3-0, and then
You cheated somehow, bro. We're gonna figure it out, but
that's fine. Figure it out. I dare you. All right. No, just kidding. Just kidding, guys. With that, we're going to move on to the MVP race, and it is getting hot. Dalton has been chomping at the bit for like what feels like 1,000 years to talk about this. He has been very adamant that Dak Prescott should be and will be the NFL MVP. And so I took it upon myself to do a little research.
of course.
And yeah. And what I found was over the past, I think it was from the year, let me find here, from 2010 to now. So every year since 2010. Only twice has the quarterback of the number one offense not won the NFL MVP that season. That was 2012, Adrian Peterson, and then 2021, Aaron Rodgers, which is the biggest, like, the fact that Aaron Rodgers won both those MVPs over Derrick Henry rushing for 2,000 and Tom Brady throwing for like 5,000 yards at age 41 is insane to me. But those are the only two times. And right now, the number one offense in the NFL is your Dallas Cowboys. So while I reluctantly say this, if the Cowboys win out, Dak's gonna win the MVP. Like that's what's gonna happen. Like I am shocked. And currently I still have Lamar over him and Tua over him because Tua currently holds the 1 seed and is the second offense in the NFL. And if they produce a lot of points, then they could end up with the number 1 offense. For me, it's hard to overlook Dak's first 6 games because that was a rough start to the season. Now he has played amazing since then, and I'm not trying to hate on Dak because he has played amazing, but Lamar has carried his team all season. Tua hasn't carried his team at all, but he's played really well with amazing weapons.
I mean, yeah, I was about to say you could put Zay Flowers and Tyreek in there as well because if they didn't have either of those guys.
Hey, whoa!
Okay, let's not hold on.
What about Chase Claypool? He's on there.
Bradley, shut up. Go Zay Flowers is a good receiver, and I think he'll be like a Pro Bowl level player one day. But let's not pretend like he's some elite wide receiver who's out there carrying the load. Like
I'm not saying he's carrying the load, but he's definitely holding it.
I would say without Lamar Jackson, that offense is bottom 5 in the league. Like they don't have anybody else for the offense they run. And Lamar has gotten way better as a passer this season. Yep. It's really underrated. Granted that he also has a decent run game, but that's partially because of he creates such a difficulty in the run game for defenses. You have to keep an eye on him, which opens it up for the guys around him. He's just a different level of player, in my opinion. And what he's doing this season on the tape is so impressive. It's hard for me not to have him as the MVP. But Tua and Dak are right here for me. I really don't have a true favorite between the two. And then I think this personally for me eliminates Jalen Hurts from the conversation altogether. I wouldn't have Jalen Hurts in my MVP conversation, period, now. The only reason he was there is because they were winning, and they were winning against everybody. Now you're losing. You're out for me. So I'm going Lamar 1, tie for Dak and Tua.
Okay. Yeah, I think I like Dak, man. Dak is my number 1. I definitely acknowledge those first 6 games, but I think it speaks more to his character that he is overcoming that and he's playing better in spite of those games. And he's not just slouching. And, I hate myself for saying this, but a lot of credit to Mike McCarthy.
A lot of credit to Mike McCarthy.
And there are some rumors going around that if they don't make a deep playoff run, that he's going to be fired and Dan Quinn could take that head coaching spot, which I don't hate.
They better have a damn good offensive coordinator in mind. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
But yeah, or Tyreek, man. I mean, if Tyreek gets 2,000 yards,
man, it's not gonna happen. If Derrick Henry, so when Aaron Rodgers won it in 2021, Derrick Henry had over 2,000 rushing yards with 0 Pro Bowl or All-Pro offensive linemen, and Ryan Tannehill as his quarterback. The least impressive offense that could possibly surround him, and he still carried the team to 2,000 yards, and Aaron Rodgers won it with 4,500 yards and 40 touchdowns.
That is a lot of touchdowns, though.
But it's the average NFL leader nowadays. The average touchdown leader usually finishes between 35 and 45 touchdowns. So, it wasn't that spectacular, and what Derrick Henry did was once in a lifetime. It's really never happened before. So, I don't know how any skill position player could be given an MVP when that's the standard. But I don't get me wrong. I do think Tyreek Hill should be in consideration. I just don't think he'll end up getting it because of that.
Don't accept that share, by the way.
I won't.
Go ahead.
But Riley, any thoughts? If you say Josh Allen, I will cut you out of this podcast right now. I will drop you off the screen. I swear to God.
Thank you.
My MVP at the moment is Jalen Hurts. He has the record. He has the stats. He's 10th in passing yards, 11th in passing touchdowns, and 2nd in total touchdowns. And this is where I make the deciding factor against Dak is he has put up these stats against better teams than Dak has put up his stats.
Okay, let me interject here because this is where I wanted to talk.
All right.
The Cowboys are playing the teams that they were scheduled at the beginning of the season. Nobody thought the Giants were going to flop as hard as they were doing. Daniel Jones just got paid. They beat the fucking Vikings in the playoffs last year, and they were.
Hold on, I would like to say they beat
You're interjecting my interject right now.
Yes, I am. They beat the Vikings in the playoff because Ed Donatel's a fucking moron. That's why it's not because the Giants were good. Let me make that very clear.
Yes, the Giants were not a good team.
I am so salty with Ed Donatel. He fucking wasted an entire year of my life with that fucking atrocious thing he called a defense. And I'm so glad they fired him. Dude, Brian Flores has the same players and rookies, so new guys that are not experienced, playing at a top 15 level when Ed Donatel had all pro and Pro Bowl caliber players playing at a bottom 3 level.
You shouldn't have brought up that game, Dalton. You got him on a tangent.
Well, that's where you can get into the debate of is an offense doing good or is the defense just doing bad? You know what I mean? And I think, Brenner, to your point, that may be where Daniel Jones excelled was he played some bad defenses and he got himself into a good contract. But again,
I'm salty about it. But we'll leave that out. But I'm
Cowboys. The Cowboys can only play who they play. You know, they don't pick the schedule at the beginning of the year. I think the only game that I looked at that really looked like a blowout was the Cardinals game, and they fucking lost that game.
Yeah,
but everybody, the Rams still looked good. Everybody thought the Rams were going to be good this year. The Seahawks, you know what I'm saying? All these teams that now when you look at, like the Commanders, everyone's saying that they're scrubs. You know, nobody really knew what was going on, and that schedule just it is what it is. You know what I mean? And they can't
agree completely, but you can at the end of at the beginning of the season, that's all scrub now. Nobody cares about that. What matters is what you did and what they are.
Hey, hang on 1 second.
Because
and yes, I do agree with that point, Brenner, that it's a matter of what the teams are looking like now.
We lost Dalton for a second. I'm going to throw this out there while Dalton's on hold here. I did a little research amount on Dak specifically because I wanted to see how Dak stacked up. Like we keep saying, Dak's not playing these great teams. He's performing well against these bad teams, and I wanted to see how true that narrative necessarily was. So against teams that are winning records right now, currently in the NFL, Dak has -4 yards compared to average. So if their average was 250 yards.
Oh, is this just teams they have played with?
Teams they have played. They have played and how their defense normally stacks up against opposing quarterbacks.
Okay.
So I took the average of the opposing defense for their whole season and then compared it to how Dak did against them specifically. So against winning teams, he's -2 yards per game. So 4 total yards per game. Or 4 total yards altogether on the season, -2 per game. So that's 2 games. He finished 2 yards short on average of what those defenses normally give up. Against losing teams, he is a grand total of 39 points or 39 yards more per game. So he puts up 39 more passing yards per game on average compared to what the defense normally gives up against teams with a losing record. And then when you switch it to a winning record, it's -2 per game. So he really is, what that shows is he's playing about average to that defense when he plays a winning defense, and then he plays above, like way above average when he's playing against a team that's subpar.
And that's one of my points too, man. Like I said, with Eagles and Jalen Hurts, when they play, and I've talked about this before on the podcast. When they played the Commanders, they won by a touchdown, by a field goal. And then when the Cowboys, that's why I'm really interested to see these Eagles-Giants games, which, maybe they don't mean anything, but lost
We
spoon.
lost Spoon.
Yeah, his computer froze. He hasn't moved in a minute.
I noticed that, so I wasn't bringing him in, but if he can get back in, I'll bring him back in. I don't know what's quite happened. Yeah, he just sent me a text saying species frozen, so we'll see if we can get him back in. Of course, we get everybody back in on the show and the computer freezes.
Yeah. Can I throw in my last point that I was going to say?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we may have lost Dalton too.
Dalton? Yep, looks like he's frozen too.
But
Man, y'all need to get your internets fixed, I tell you.
Yeah. But Jalen Hurts, outside of this Dallas game, they played the Giants twice, and I can't remember who the third team was, but it was not a great defense. So I do see Jalen Hurts having a good remainder of the season outside of how this Dallas – if they win this Dallas game, I don't see him losing the MVP.
Yeah, I don't. Man, it's hard for me because Lamar is he's so important to his team.
Yes.
And they're near the top of the AFC. Like, if they win this week, they're going to put the pressure on Miami to keep winning.
No, and the hard decision, obviously, we'll get into the power rankings here in a little bit.
Yeah.
The deciding factor for me was between the Niners and the Ravens, and it was such a hard decision to make because the Niners, they had a bad 3-game stretch, but they're back to looking good.
Yeah, definitely. And let's not forget the 2021 Rams that won the Super Bowl. They lost 3 straight games in the middle of their season too. Like, just lost 3 straight in a row like that and then went on a run again. So it's not unheard of for good teams to struggle like this and then make runs at the end.
Yeah.
So
and the bye week for them came at a perfect time.
It really
right
did.
At the end of that 3-game losing.
Yeah, that slide, and they were able to regroup and come out of it, and obviously they're looking way better now.
Yes.
So, here we go. If we're maybe getting Dalton back. Dalton, you back? We get you? Maybe? Maybe?
Sorry.
Maybe?
Am I
You're
good?
still frozen. No. Yeah, I think we got you
you're
back.
back.
Hey, all right. So all you missed was us just wrapping up a little bit on the MVP situation. Riley just gave his final thoughts and that he thinks that Jalen Hurts is his favorite still. Other than that, I don't really have, unless you have any closing thoughts on Dak, Dalton.
No, like I was saying before I got dropped, I'm interested to see these Eagles Giants games. They may not have a lot of worth. It might not really line up to mean anything, but I just would like to see how these Eagles and this so-called great team do against scrub teams that the Cowboys have absolutely annihilated. And if they don't annihilate them, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, I will say the Eagles aren't built the same way you are to blow teams out. The Eagles are built to get a lead and grind out a win. That's how they're built. So I don't know. I think they'll win, but I don't think they'll win in the dominant fashion that you did because they're not a run up the score team. Dallas is a Miami level offense where it's run up the score. You lead, we're gonna keep just going. Like, you rely on your offense to win games.
Yep.
A lot of people thought the Dallas defense,
Also on defense though too, man.
which is another thing I'm gonna look into. How many defensive touchdowns have you guys had this year? Because the points per game get a little skewed when you add in defensive touchdowns. Where would you be? But where would everybody be? I don't know how that all lines out. I'm going to look more into that. With that being said, we're going to move on to the playoff race. And I'm going to pull up the playoff.
Something that we haven't touched on is the Eagles signed Shaquille Leonard.
And they signed Ndamukong
Shaquille
Suh.
Leonard.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they signed both
Back?
of them.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I think that Shaquille Leonard signing could be big for them.
I want to believe it will be, but it's also late in the season. I don't know. It's hard for me to be like, yeah, it's gonna be. It's huge for them because it's just so late in the season, and he got cut for a reason. You know what I mean? It's not like we're talking about a guy who was on an All-Pro season. Granted, he has been in the past, but we'll see. I'm not saying it's a bad signing, and I'm not saying it's a great signing yet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they needed it. They absolutely needed it, especially with that injury in the 49ers game.
So obviously here we got the Eagles, Niners, Lions, and then the AFC or the NFC South is such a. I mean, you got Bucks here, Saints here at 5-7, 5-7, and then
Hey, the Bears are up there.
6-6. You mean all the way down here, like right by the bottom?
We have made the playoff picture.
Everybody has, except for
That's
the
a win.
Panthers. Everybody but the Panthers has. See how
Hey.
there's a space here? That's the Panthers.
Hey,
How are the Cardinals?
They're not mathematically eliminated yet because some teams could still get to 10
so
losses.
crazy.
If say the Packers lose out, the Rams lose out, the Hawks, the Bucks, the Saints, the Giants, the Bears, and the Commanders all get to 10 losses, then the Cardinals could squeak in.
Hilarious if
Squeak it.
true.
I don't
Hilarious
think
if true.
I don't think that's going to happen. I did a rundown again this week of how I think things are going to shake out in the NFC and the AFC. Oh, we got Spoon back. We can get him in.
Oh, there we go.
Hey, we got
Uh,
Spoon back.
Sorry about that.
It's all right. We're on the playoff scenario right now, so we moved on from the
Damn.
MVP talk.
Missed my MVP talk. It's all good.
It's okay. It's okay.
Shout out CJ Stroud for not getting any love. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, he didn't get any love yet. We'll see how the
He's a
season
rookie.
shakes out for him. But I have, at the end of the season, I think we'll have in the NFC, San Francisco at 1, Philly at 2, Detroit at 3, New Orleans at 4, Dallas. After seeing Green Bay and knowing that Matt LaFleur has never lost in the month of December as the head coach of the Green Bay Packers, I have them as the 6th seed right now. Like if that trend continues, they maybe lose one game the rest of the season. That's a 10-7, 11-6 vibe for me. And then I think it comes down to Seattle, LA, and Minnesota at that number 7 spot in the NFC. And I have a hard time picking the Vikings. I want to pick the Vikings, obviously, but I have a
God, I want
really
Josh
hard.
Dobbs to be so good. Do you know what they're doing next week as far as quarterback goes?
We should hear something tomorrow. It should be a Wednesday thing. It's Tuesday, December 5th right now. So we should hopefully know tomorrow what their plans are. I would expect to hear Josh Dobbs as the starter, but anything could happen. He played really well for those. Well,
last game.
2 of those were tipped. So 2 of those were literally got tipped and fell into a defender's hands. So those were lucky. So one of them was a bad throw, and the other one was a turnover on downs, not an interception. So I don't know. The other 2 games he played, I talked about it last week, how they're putting too much on his plate. I just think they should simplify it for him, keep things easy, 1 or 2 reads, and use your legs. Like just do that, keep it simple. 1 or 2 reads, dump it off. 1 or 2 reads, use your legs, get out of the pocket. And I think we could put up some points. But obviously Seattle's got a really tough schedule, but then it gets real easy at the end. And then LA has obviously been hot and been playing really well. On the AFC side of things, I see Kansas City walking away with the 1 seed. I know that sounds crazy. They just lost, but I looked at the schedule. They're not really in much danger going down the stretch here. They got some easy games coming up. Baltimore and Miami at 2 and 3, and all of those teams at 13 and 4. Houston, I think, makes the 4th seed still, especially because of the Jacksonville injury to Trevor Lawrence. I think that pretty much nails in that Houston's going to end up with that division. And then Cleveland and Pittsburgh both making the playoffs. And then Denver, Indy, one of the 2. One of those 2 is going to get in, and I don't know which one. It's going to come down to the final weeks of the season, and I am really looking forward to how this all shakes out. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts, any differences in opinion. Like, what do you guys feel about this playoff chase?
You know, I don't really think we're going to be surprised.
You think it's just going to be pretty similar to what we see right here?
Yeah, and I think we are already at a trend right now. As far as this season is going, Eagles, Niners, Kansas City, Ravens. Like I really don't think we're gonna see anybody squeeze in. I as much as I would love to see something like everybody losing out and the Cardinals getting into like something crazy like I love a good underdog story, but I just don't see it happening, man. It's not realistic. Lamar's too good. Tua is too good. Jalen Hurts is too good. The Tush Push is too good. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's really and too many QB injuries, man. So many freaking QB injuries this year.
Yeah.
You don't got to talk to me about it. I'm very. I was telling the boys before the show, we got robbed of a Kirk Cousins MVP season. Jalen Hurts just passed Kirk Cousins in touchdowns this past weekend. Kirk hasn't played since October. Like, Kirk was
also why Jalen Hurts should not be MVP. He just beat a guy that's been injured for.
Hold on. He beat the guy. All right. At the time, Kirk was number 1 in the league in passing touchdowns.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I mean, if they would have cast MVP right then, he probably would have won it.
Well, not with our record, he wouldn't have. But hey,
fuck the record. It's most valuable player, not most valuable team.
If that was the case, we'd have defensive MVPs year in and year out because there are guys that are on defense that are way more valuable to their defensive success than some guys are to their offensive success.
True that.
That's just me.
You're right.
But with that, does anybody have anything else they would like to add to the playoff picture, talk-ish, any surprises, anything they think is going to happen? No? Once, twice, 3 times sold to the man in orange. No, I'm just kidding. So with that, we're going to move on to our top 10. So
finally, hey, he didn't forget, guys.
I know, I didn't forget. I'm not going to forget anymore. It's burned in. It's gonna stick. So from here on out,
this is what I get excited for every week is finding out what our top 10 is.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
After a shaky week like this, I'm very excited to see it.
All right, I had some surprises in here that I didn't think would make it, but like, hey, it's a group thing. All right, 3, 2, 1. All right. So right here we have. I'm gonna start doing a little differently each week.
Oh.
I'm gonna start doing the points so we can see how things shook out and how everything works. So every week, all the guys give me their top 10. Number 1 is worth 10 points, and number 10 is worth 1 point. And so, therefore, you add up the scores, and then it equals out to this. And then I give any decimals are based on how they finished the prior week. So there's a tie at number 1. Both teams got 38 points, but the Ravens were above the Niners last week, so they get 38.1 points, moving them into the 1 spot. It's a little different shakeup this week. I just wanted to work things around a little bit, shake things up. But we have Cleveland in the top 10, just barely. I was kind of surprised they still made the top 10 after against LA. The Jags, I was also surprised, made the top 10 after losing Trevor Lawrence for multiple weeks. But the Texans are at 8. I definitely think they deserve to be in the top 10. Kansas City, obviously. They had a bad loss on Sunday Night Football, an embarrassing loss at that. But, they've been good majority of the season. They are struggling. Riley pointed out to me that they are 2-3 in their past 5 games. So they are struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
Detroit, also not struggle bussing, but they did jump out. They did lose, and then they jumped out to a huge lead on the Saints and then almost blew that game.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I almost honestly picked the Saints as my MVP, even though they lost, because I was like, man, they were down, but they were not out until
they pushed.
Yeah.
It was a good game out there.
It's a really good if you can do it, I can kind of thing. Like,
yeah, for sure. You can score 28 in the first half. Well, I can score 28 in the second half.
Exactly. It's been done.
But then we had a tie between the Cowboys and the Dolphins and the Eagles. All 3 were tied at 28
Interesting.
points. So they go in the same order they were in last week. Dolphins at 5, Cowboys at 4, Eagles at 3. Personally, I would say, that's a pretty good order for those 3 teams. After this week, things may change. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Mhm.
But then you got the Niners above them. And you can't really – a lot of people have the Niners, like, in the media right now. A lot of people have the Niners as the best team in the league. All Baltimore has done is win, and they didn't play last week. So I couldn't really put them below the Niners
Same.
because they didn't play. So
Yeah.
Well, I
That's
still did.
kinda
I put
where
him. I put him at 2.
yeah. And it ended up, we had 2 10s, 2 9s, so it was back and forth, and so we had
Charge
to.
don't lie. I feel like it evens out between the 4 of us. We make a pretty good top 10.
Yeah, so here's the top 10, and we did have a one team receive a vote. That was the Pittsburgh Steelers. I won't lie, guys. It was hard for me to leave off the Green Bay Packers.
I was going to bring them up too. I mean, you have 2 teams in the top 10 that they have beaten in the last 2
Yeah.
weeks.
I hate the Green Bay Packers, and I mean that in every sense of the word. But they have been playing good, and I feel like they're at least in the top 13 teams for sure. And it was hard for me to leave them off my list. I did leave them off my list, but if they keep winning, they're going to be in this very soon, as much as that pains me. I feel like that was the only team that didn't get put in here that probably deserves some love. Like, they're probably better than the Browns right now, probably better than the Jags right now. They just beat the Chiefs, so.
And then they just beat the Lions 2 weeks ago. So
Yep. It's, we'll see. We'll see how things shake out. I feel like we got a pretty good little list here. I don't feel like this is too crazy. I'm interested to see what the media comes out with this week as far as their top 10s, because I would like to see how ours shakes out in comparison to theirs.
I just would like to say a quick fuck Aaron Rodgers for getting everyone's hopes up.
Hey, that's my Wi-Fi password at home. Is fucking. I wish I was joking. Like that's
The whole
that's
city of
my
Chicago just got up and started dancing.
Wi-Fi.
Fuck that guy, man. He knew he wasn't going to come back, and he just wanted to be fucking talked about. And
He still has a chance, man.
yeah, bullshit.
He just got activated for football activities.
Eat a
Yeah,
bag of
he's
shit.
got, what,
We're not
23
gonna see him
days
this
or something
season.
like that?
21 days when he comes off IR.
Jets should just lose out and try and get a better pick in the draft.
Did you guys see that Zach Wilson said that he was hesitant to step back in as the starter?
I would be too, especially if if what they said was true, with the whole locker room talking shit about him and turning on the coach. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. Like, whether your quarterback sucks, like, help him, bro. Like, help him fucking get better. He's your quarterback. Like, you guys are a team.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a rough thing to show up in that. Like, we all go to our jobs and have people we hate as coworkers and talk shit about them, I'm sure. But, like, in that environment, that is such like a family. Like, we are a family and we're all trying to achieve the same goal. We all have to work together. And to have guys that are shitting on you every day, it makes it hard to want to go to work for those guys. Because let's be honest, like, we all give credit to the NFL, like, oh, they protect the quarterback, and oh, being quarterback's so easy and light and playful. Those dudes are still taking some hits. Like, at the end of the day, they're still taking a licking. And it's hard to want to go out there and get beat up by a 350-pound nose tackle every week when the guys on the other side of the ball are going, this guy fucking sucks. I wish we weren't even on the team.
Yeah.
Like, some guys would use motivation, I guess, but I understand how it could be difficult to get up for that and get up to want to help those guys win.
Yeah.
But
Agreed.
with that, does anybody have any closing comments, remarks, concerns, anything they were surprised by this week? Anything at all?
I still had the Jags higher.
You had the Jags higher.
I did.
I did too.
Trevor Lawrence
It's-
out?
I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at the fact they still beat the Texans. And Trevor Lawrence is only out for 2 weeks. They're still going to be a great team with it whenever he comes back.
I mean, you're
And
saying
they beat
Have gone out. If he wouldn't have gone out, they would have won that game.
Yeah.
it was tied when he left the game.
Yeah, and then the Bengals scored a field goal. No, they didn't even score a field goal. They had they missed their
The
first
Bengals
chance.
scored a touchdown and a field goal, and the Jags scored a touchdown and a field goal.
Oh yeah, but when they went to overtime,
Oh, okay.
you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
the Jaguars had a chance and they went down the field pretty well.
Yeah.
But I think if they would have had Trevor Lawrence, it would have been a different story.
Either way, they would have struggled to beat a beat-up Cincy team. Without Joe.
They can't game plan against.
That's true. That is true. But
So I'm
Yeah,
giving them a little bit of credit.
yeah, I don't know. With the way things are looking for them, he's out, in my opinion, minimum 4 weeks. I doubt we see Trevor Lawrence back on the field within the next 4 weeks.
And if that's the case, then yeah, I'll put the Texans and the Chiefs back above the Jags, whatever. That
I can't
Who's
see
the
a world in
Back up
which,
for the Jags?
for the Jags.
Yeah,
CJ Beathard.
I've never heard of him.
CJ Beathard. Where did he
Isn't
Where did
he
play
like
for the Niners?
30?
I don't know. He played for the Niners for a little bit. I don't remember where he went to college, but
I think
He's
he's
a-
been around a while.
he's a solid backup, but he's not anything special for a backup. It's not like he's, some guy I'm going to expect to jump in and throw for 300 yards a game. But we'll see. I'm not trying to say that the Jags are cooked and they're done, but last night Trevor Lawrence tried to walk off the field and couldn't put any weight on his ankle to walk off the field. He
Yeah,
had to-
loser of the week. Where was the cart guy for the Jags, man?
yeah, seriously.
Way down the hallway.
I was talking about that, and when I was watching the game, I've only seen that one other time where like a star player had to be like hobbled to the locker room and bring out the cart, and that was Adrian Peterson when he tore his ACL in 2011.
They don't even have like one of those like scooty carts that you put your knee up on for him, bro. Just
Seriously,
two
Like-
assistant coaches.
Monday Night Football hates the Jags. They haven't played on Monday Night Football since 2011, and in their first game of Monday Night Football, they lose their franchise quarterback, who has to be double manned to the locker room, hopping on one ankle.
Poor guy.
Like Monday Night
Might be.
Football, if you're a Jags fan, you must hate Monday Night Football. And that's just like, I'm out on that. But alrighty, with that, we would like to say thank you everybody for sticking around to the very end of the show. Please like, subscribe, comment, do all that good stuff down at the bottom.
You don't have any questions for us?
I don't have
Yeah.
any rapid fire this week. I felt like this was kind of good. We had a good little show going, and I didn't pull out any rapid fire questions this week.
Fair enough.
Every week it's getting harder because there's less and less like not big stuff that we're not already talking about. So I don't
Right.
want to give people more of the same thing. I would just rather save it for a time when we're not wasting people's time. They want to know
Oh,
specific.
I got a question. Let me just pull out here just a quick one.
Yeah.
So after Deron Bland getting absolutely cooked by the Seahawks by Geno Smith and DK Metcalf, granted he did have that one interception, but do you guys think that was just a fluke, or do you think that he's showing his true cowboy colors?
I think that he's like the second coming of a Marcus Peters, if you remember how Marcus Peters played. The reason he has so many interceptions is because he's not afraid to get burnt, and he will jump routes and try to like undercut things. And so that leads to, an aggressive receiver who can sell a fake. You're gonna bait him in quite often. And I think that's what happened. I think Deron Bland looks at Geno Smith and goes, nah, he ain't the guy. Like I can handle this, and they faked him out. They let him believe that I can win this route, I can win this ball, I can get to that, and that's just what happened.
How do you think? Because we're playing the Dolphins. How do you think he's going to do against Tyreek Hill? Because they're definitely going to be lined up together.
They're not. I think after last week, I don't think he can. You can't. I say after last week, no team in the NFL has a cornerback that can line up man to man with Tyreek Hill all game and be fine. It just doesn't exist. They will have double coverage on Tyreek all game long. Dan Quinn is too smart of a defensive mind not to. Tyreek's still going to get his too, but they will have him double teamed. They will have a
So
safety.
interested in that game, man. That game, that's gonna be a good game. That's gonna go. I feel like that's kind of gonna go under the radar, maybe.
Dan Quinn is too smart. Dan Quinn is a very good defensive mind, and he is too smart to not double team Tyreek every play. But anybody else got any thoughts on it? No? Nothing? Nobody? All right. Well, Dalt, thank you for the question. With that, we will see y'all next week. Have a good one.
Peace.